today. UFC 313 is upon us, and the Shaman of Chama is back in the octagon to face Magomed Ankalaev and make the attempt to defend his light heavyweight championship of the world. Also, the co-main event, we see a rematch where Justin Gaethje, the maestro of violence, steps back in the octagon in a rematch against Rafael Fiziev. Justin won the first time. Fiziev taking this fight on short notice. All the chips are against him, but can he pull out a rematch win? Also, we got Jalen Turner fighting on this card. That'd be interesting. You know what I'm talking about? We got a few prospects on this card. That'd be interesting. We got the Hulk versus the Superman on this card. All of this and more on today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. What's up, guys? We right back at it. We right back with it. It's your boy, Matt. It's always go cards all day, every day. Chucky Hepburn, holla at me. Nevertheless, bro, we out here. We doing big things. UFC 313 on the way. It goes down in T-Mobile Arena this Saturday night, in which in the main event, Poatan Alex Pereira makes the attempt to defend his light heavyweight championship of the world against Magomed Ankalaev. This is the fight, okay? I'm a huge Alex Pereira fan, right? And this is the fight that Alex Pereira fans have been a little uneasy about. You know what I'm saying? Been a little worried about, you know what I'm talking about? Because Magomed Ankalaev is an animal, okay? He's a silent animal. He's more of a quiet animal. Even though he's trying to beef up his talking now before this fight, he's a quiet animal. You know what I'm talking about? Magomed is not the guy that's going to have a lot of shenanigans outside of the cage. He's not the guy that's going to get on the microphone and blast all the competition, even though he will talk, you know, he'll talk a little trash. He will talk some trash about some fighters, but it's not really in his nature, so it doesn't quite hit. It's not as potent as what a lot of other fighters will do. But what Magomed Ankalaev is an extremely well-rounded mixed martial artist. This dude can wrestle, you know, Dagestani roots. He can wrestle, you know. He can definitely grapple, you know. He has submissions. But he's also comparable on the feet. You know, I wouldn't say he's a better striker, of course, than Alex Pereira or anything like that, but he can definitely strike, which is what he tried to show off in his last fight. You know what I'm saying? So, this guy is well-rounded and he's dangerous. He's well-rounded and he's dangerous. However, he's stepping in the octagon with Alex Pereira. Now, I know what what's been going on, around the MMA sphere for years. You know what I'm saying? The MMA world for years. What's been talked about Alex Pereira, you know, he's extremely good on the feet. He's powerful. That power can lay you out, no problem. He can usually handle guys on the feet for the most part. You know, only has one hiccup, and that was against Israel Adesanya. But at the same time, everyone's always been talking about, you know, if it goes to the ground, you know, it's probably going to be a wrap for him. And we saw a little bit of that. Now, this fight was at altitude. It was his first fight at light heavyweight in the UFC. It was against Jan Blachowicz. Oh, Yanni Blacko, my guy. And Yanni Blacko really wrestled him. He really wrestled him. He was able to keep Pereira down, but Pereira was able to make it back to his feet a few times, and he still handled business on the feet. And when I'm looking at this fight, I have to pick Alex Pereira to go out there and get the win. Because from what I've seen from watching training videos, or at least the training videos you can scrounge up on Instagram or on YouTube of Alex Pereira training with his head coach Glover Teixeira, what I have seen, what I've noticed, I believe that they have done something very unique and made Alex Pereira extremely lethal. Even though he has this wrestling or ground or grappling deficiency, I believe they scrapped really trying to teach him a ground game. You know what I'm saying? I believe they scrapped really trying to teach him, this world-class, world-renowned way of trying to grapple, of trying to wrestle, of scrambles or anything like that. I literally think they only, from what I've seen, and I don't know, I'm not anybody in the MMA world, but I feel that they've specialized in just focusing on takedown defense, but if you get taken down, whatever, bro, on getting back to your feet, whether it's getting to the cage and wall walking back to your feet, whether it's shifting your weight, being able to move your hips and get back, in a better position to somewhat scramble, or if you must be laying on your back for the duration of the round, how can you protect yourself or hold the opponent on top of you down, whether you have to hug them or whatever, to get a stand up from the referee? And I believe that that's all they drill and they focus on when it comes to that portion of Alex Pereira's game. You know what I'm saying? Which is genius in a sense. I'm not saying they're the first to ever do this, by no means. But what's genius about that is he's never going to be a good scrambler. He's never going to be a good wrestler. He's never going to be a ground guy. That's just not him. But if they can teach him different tactics where if it goes there, all you have to do, if he takes you down, you're on your back, ride that out. Ride that out. But once you get back to your feet, whether it's a stand up from the referee, whether he's able to get to his feet as long as there's not too much energy expended, or if it's the beginning of the next round, that's when you capitalize. And I feel that Alex Pereira he's just a different type of warrior out there. And I believe he has a little bit, it's two total different styles of fighters, but I believe he has a little bit of that aura like what Anderson Silva had back in the day, where that aura, when you're stepping in there with Poatan, when you're stepping in there with Alex Pereira, you were stepping in there with Anderson Silva, when you're stepping in there with guys like that, there's an aura that surrounds them that diffuses a lot of fighters. Whatever their game plan was, once you're stepping in there with them, you're standing in front of them, they say fight, and the round starts and they begin to move around, a lot of your game plan goes out the window. A lot of what you thought you were going to do to that person goes out the window because you're standing right there in front of them. And I would, as another major example of that, Israel Adesanya used to have an aura around him. And it defeated a lot of opponents before the fight ever started. But look at Israel Adesanya now. He just lost to Nasruddin. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to down Nasruddin. But he just lost to him, and you never would have seen that like 5 years ago. You know what I'm saying? That aura has been shattered. And when Sean Strickland beat the man, the aura was shattered. And now, guys, there aren't as leery of stepping in there with Israel Adesanya. Poatan still has that, even though we saw him lose to Adesanya. The way that he bounced back after that loss was tremendous. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying? So, very, very intriguing. And I'm not saying Magomed is going to be affected by that aura because he doesn't seem like a guy that cares about that. But when that large man, you know what I'm saying, he comes out, he shoots that arrow, oh, you know what I'm saying, he does, bro, when you possess Thanos' glove on your left hand, that left hook of doom, a lot of things change for you in the cage. I'm going to go along with Alex Pereira to go out there and get the win over Magomed. Either way, Poatan's going to win because, as I spoke about in the previous video, this is genius matchmaking by the UFC. They have maximized their dollar that they can make off of Alex Pereira in the light heavyweight division. They've maximized it. All right? That's why you saw the matchmakers continue to push Magomed on the back burner. Because the matchmakers might believe, Magomed might actually go out there and beat Alex Pereira. And then the money train might end for him at that moment. They have pushed Magomed to the side for a couple of years now, allowing Alex Pereira to flourish and keep doing his thing at light heavyweight. And now they have maximized the dollar because if he beats Magomed, there's not really anybody else for him to fight at light heavyweight. And if Magomed beats him, okay, the torch has been passed in the light heavyweight division to Magomed. That immediately gets the fans' eyes on him. That gets the pay-per-view buyers' eyes on him because he defeated Alex Pereira, thus allowing Alex Pereira to maximize his own earning potential more and the UFC to stretch another dollar out of him up in the heavyweight division, possibly against John Jones or the real heavyweight champion of the world, Tommy Aspinall. So we will see how all of this will play out. Tremendous matchmaking, though. Extremely intelligent by the UFC. Let's move on. Let's move on to the co-main event where we have Justin Gaethje stepping in the octagon with Rafael Fiziev. And if I'm mispronouncing his first name, maybe it's Rafael Fiziev. I'm not sure. Nevertheless, that dude can bang. He's a heck of a fighter. You know what I'm talking about? Okay, so this is going to be a rematch from a few years ago in which Justin Gaethje won this fight. Here's the thing. If this was on an even playing field, full training camp, full focus, full everything, not coming back off of an injury that gave you like a 1 or more year layoff, I might pick this fight a little bit differently and I might eat these words, but I'm going to go ahead and go along with Justin Gaethje. I just think Justin Gaethje is one of those guys that it's going to be extremely hard for you to go in on short notice, coming off of a really bad knee injury, being out of the octagon for a long period of time, and this is your first fight back, and you don't even get a full training camp, you know what I'm saying? He accepted this fight on like 11, 13 days notice, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. I don't really know about that, and I got to go along with Justin Gaethje to go out there and get the win. I know Justin Gaethje is not what he used to be, but at the same time, I mean, bro, his last 2 losses were against El Diamante, Dustin Poirier, you know what I'm saying, who just put on an extremely good fight against Islam, better than we all thought he was going to do against Makhachev. And then he lost to Max Holloway, you know what I'm saying, in one of the greatest mixed martial arts moments of all time in that knockout. So it's like, we'll see, but I'm going to go ahead and go along with Justin Gaethje to go out there and get the win. I'm not going to go over all the fights on this card. We're just going to touch upon a couple of them. A fight that I think is going to be a banger, Jalen Turner against Inacio Bahamondes. I got Bahamondes. And no disrespect to Jalen Turner. I really like that guy. I'm a huge Tarantula fan. But I really think it's time for him to move up to welterweight. I think he's having to drain his body so much to make 155 that it's just taking his chin from him. You know what I'm saying? His chin is in his pocket, and the dudes is running up on him. They done shoved him on the ground. They done pulled out the pistol. They told him, don't move. Don't move. You move a muscle, I'm going to shoot. And then they reach in his pockets, they pull out his chin, and then they leave him. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like he needs to move up to 170 pounds, but I do think this fight is still going to bang, but I got Bahamondes to go out there and get the win. Another fight that I think is going to be very interesting, King Green, formerly known as King Bobby Green. King Green stepping in there with Mauricio Hufi. Bro, this is a really hard fight to call because Hufi's last fight against Yontop, you know, there was moments where he was looking outstanding, like he was in the Matrix with his movements. But then there was times that Yontop was putting it on him, especially because, you know, Mauricio throws with so much power in every one of his shots earlier in the fight. And as you start getting to later in the fight, he started to slow down. You know, I'm not saying he full blown gassed out, but he was getting tired. You know what I'm saying? So that's very interesting. King Green is not known to get tired. He's known to have a pretty good gas tank. And I know that his chin might be a little bit suspect now. Him and his chin might be on the rocks, and she might be thinking about leaving him. But this one is a tough one to call because I saw a couple of holes in Huffy's game, that I don't really know. You know, he's going in there against Bobby Green, but what I think will make the difference here is probably going to be the fighting nerds. I think their coaching ability and, more importantly, their game plans that they send their fighters into the octagon with are tremendous. And I feel that possibly Bobby Green might not have, but Bobby Green was a really instinct and reflex fighter. He had tremendous reflexes. Bobby Green would roll in on his opponent's hands down, right? He would go in on his opponent's hands down and just all day. What? And he'd go in, and they couldn't hit him. They would be spamming shots in, but they couldn't hit him. Hands down. He has tremendous eyes. He sees everything that's coming at him. He had tremendous reflexes, and he could evade everything. And if you hit Bobby Green, he was rolling with it. He if you watch a lot of his fights, he does a lot of this. When he gets hit, he does a lot of that. You know, he rolls with those punches, and that maneuver of rolling lessens the impact of these blows. But getting a little bit older, and I don't know if those reflexes are still intact. Plus, I really feel like, you know, a couple of years ago, King Green would have eaten Paddy Pimblett alive. And after that fight with Paddy Pimblett, I was like, man, King Green, he's getting a little bit later in his career now. So with that being said, I've battled with this all week, and all week I thought I was going to choose King Green, and it's paining me to say this, even though I like Mauricio Rufy. I guess I'm going to call him Rufy. I guess it's not Hoofy. He kind of gets tricky with Brazilian fighters, but I'm going to call him Rufy. I'm going to go along with him to go out there and get the win over King Green. I think, you know, King Green from a little bit earlier in his career, a few years ago, total different story. But right now, I think the fighting nerds and their game planning, I don't feel like at this point in his career, King Green would be a hard fighter to create a tremendous game plan to defeat. So I'm going to go along with Rufy to go out there and get the win. Let's see. Another fight that I'm really interested in, and this will be the last one I'm going to talk about here real quick. There's a ton of good fights on this card, you know. I'm extremely excited to see Carlos Leal back in there. He's a tremendous guy as well. Bruno Ferreira stepping in there with Arman Petrosian. The Hulk versus the Superman. I think this fight is going to bang, bro. Because I've always liked Petrosian, right? I've always liked Petrosian. I've always thought he was a really good fighter. He was a sneaky, underrated fighter. But I think the heart that Bruno shows and his ability to weather and take a lot of punishment and then change the fight on a dime with some of his power shots, I'm going to actually pick Bruno to go out there and get the win. I'm going to pick Bruno to go out there and beat Arman. I think that power, that the power that Bruno possesses, the ability to take an extreme amount of punishment and then out of nowhere, let's say late in the second or early in the third round, maybe middle of the third round, to change the fight on a dime. And once he lands a couple of those power shots, he don't hesitate. He goes in for the kill. Now there have been fights that he has hesitated, and he's lived to regret that. But I think he knows what's at stake here. I think he wants to get back on the winning track. I'm gonna go along with Bruno to get the win. You know, I got to go along with Bruno to go out there and get the win. I think this fight is going to bang, though. I think it's going to bang. It probably will go to the ground a few times because Petrosian, he's sneaky. He's got a tricky ground game as well. But I think even the scrambles will probably be fairly interesting. But I think this fight's gonna bang. So I'm definitely interested in seeing this card. There's a lot of good fights on this card. You know, we got Joshua Van, we got Curtis Blades against a Juice Box. You can do the math there, but you know, Amanda Lemos coming back. I'm definitely excited for this card. I think it's going to be tremendous. And in the main event, I got Poatan to go out there and get the win. So please let me know what picks you have, what you think about what I just said. Remember, the whole point of this channel is it Matt or is it fact? So if you don't agree with me, that's all gravy, bro. Just let me know, because you might be the fact in this equation. Nevertheless, please like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think. And once again, I do want to thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I'll check you next time. Peace.